The Madaba Plains project and its offshoots in Jordan constitutes the largest, longest running American archaeological project in 150 years in the Middle East. It is absolutely unique, not only in that regard, but in terms of quality. That project has pioneered new regional surveys, new interdisciplinary pursuits, the newest technology in archaeology. Already it's training its third generation of students, and I can only wish it goes on for another 40 years, even though I won't be here to watch. And judged by any criteria, this project has been brilliantly successful. But when you consider that it was sponsored by a small, some would say marginal American Christian denomination, Adventist, it's even more remarkable because the great universities, Harvard and Princeton, Yale, Chicago, and others that at one time worked in the Middle East scarcely do so today. So by comparison with much larger and much more prestigious universities, La Sierra University certainly stands on its own. And I think it's worth mentioning it's been a major sponsor of this project from the beginning. And Dr. Lawrence Garrity, outgoing president at La Sierra, has been the general project director for many, many years. So here is an example of a small, relatively unknown American Christian group that has sponsored an archaeological project in the Middle East that's absolutely stunning. And how has it done it? It has done it by long-term commitment, the kind of commitment many secular universities do not have and never did have. It spent a great deal of money, but much more important than the money is the concern to illuminate the backgrounds of the Bible. This is a new style of biblical archaeology, not the old style amateur prove the Bible sort that proved a bit disastrous, but a new, modern, sophisticated approach to illuminating biblical backgrounds. And it's been done by Adventists who put their money where their mouth was. And it's a unique achievement, and I'm glad to be part of celebrating its 40th anniversary. La Sierra University has had a remarkable challenge in supporting the Madaba Plains project these past 40 years. Now you have a new challenge. Quite by accident, it seems, a huge collection of antiquities has fallen into your hands. This collection contains at least 4,000 pieces and probably stretches over more than 4,000 years. It is the largest collection I've ever seen outside of Israel of antiquities from ancient Israel. It was put together in Jerusalem over a long period of time by people I know. And many of the pieces of the pottery I recognize. I've been here this week evaluating them. It's a stunning collection. No museum in America has anything like it. In some cases, there are pieces here the Israel Museum doesn't have. And in some cases, you have 100 examples of a single type of pottery. The pottery collection is especially important, and I would think that from the 9th, 8th, 7th centuries BC, the period of the Israelite and Judean monarchies, you have a nearly complete set. You have many complete sets. You could set a table for a village in Judah in the 8th century with all the forms they would have used. You could reconstruct a Judean tomb of the 7th century with all the vessels that would have been found in it. So these pots are extremely valuable, not only as pieces to display in a museum, beautiful and interesting in their own right, but you have a teaching collection. You have so many examples of a given type that you can throw them out on the table and let students play with them. They're not all exquisite pieces that are going to end up in a display case. They're pieces students can actually handle. And that's the only way you learn archaeology, hands-on. Students can mend these pieces, photograph them, draw them, catalog them, look for parallels, study them. So in the end, you will have, I think, if you rise to this challenge, an unparalleled example of what a teaching museum ought to be. You can attract the general public, school children from the area, people from other churches and other denominations. And now that I've finished working on the collection, I think I can safely say that scholars and students from all over America will come to La Sierra University to spend a week or so working with your collections. The backup collections behind the pieces that will end up in the cases are so extensive. You have many one-of-a-kind pieces that I've never seen before. You can't put a price tag on pieces like that. You have, in some cases, enough pieces to set up a series showing you how a particular ceramic form developed over 1,000 years. You have maybe 300 or 400 lamps You could have a magnificent lamp collection alone. And you have some wonderful pieces that are potter's mistakes. You could have a whole case showing what the potters meant to do and couldn't quite manage. Or you can have a whole case full of imitations of expensive imported prototypes. And I have never seen any museum in the world do that. They don't have enough pieces. You have enough. So you wouldn't have gone looking for this collection, and you certainly wouldn't have bought it on the black market. It fell into your hands. You didn't seek it out. It sought you. And I don't think you expected it. I don't think you first appreciated what you had, but every gift comes with a price. And first of all, you have to find a way to compensate those who put the collection together. And I would suggest considering establishing a charitable foundation that would help Jerusalemites, especially Palestinian Muslims and Christians who certainly are in need of help. In that way, you would be doing a good deed beyond the use of the collection. But then you have to clean and mend and draw and photograph all of these pieces, record them. You need a full-time curator, a full-time curatorial assistant. You need obviously a museum, and you need a long-term commitment to this unique collection. It really is a challenge, an enormous challenge. Had I known what was involved in this collection and had been involved, I would have said no thanks. But you've got it, and you can't sell it, and you can't send it back. Now you have a moral obligation to find the resources to curate this collection and use it as an effective teaching tool. Because I don't know of any other collection that illustrates biblical backgrounds as well as this one. Your community has a long-term commitment to the Bible. Now you need a similar commitment, the kind of commitment you brought to the Madaba Plains Project, to house and use this collection in perpetuity. It is a splendid, unique collection, and it constitutes an enormous challenge for your group. But you will rise to it. You have done it before. Adventists have risen to the challenge of funding and supporting the Madaba Plains Project for 40 years now. Now you have the challenge of using this unique collection as a teaching tool. So we're talking about the future, and we're talking about the future of biblical archaeology. Does it have a future? Surprisingly, many people would say no. And at many institutions, it doesn't have a future. The great universities that at one time supported biblical archaeology have lost interest. For instance, at Harvard University, George Ernest Wright, my teacher and Dr. Garrity's teacher, was not replaced when he died for 18 long years, and then only because someone came along and gave an unexpected gift to endow a chair. Drew and McCormick seminaries that sponsored the archaeological excavations at Shechem in Jordan, where so many of us were trained, did not bother to replace its archaeologists when they retired. Neither institution does any archaeology at all. And that's typical. Most Protestant seminaries in this country have no interest in history any longer. They're interested only in literary criticism. And if you're not interested in history, you're not interested in archaeology. So these old schools have abandoned their programs. In my own case, I taught for 27 years at the University of Arizona, and we built up the largest doctoral program in the world in Near Eastern archaeology. 3 years ago, I retired. My budget line went to Islamic thought. Now consider the implications of that. There is no program at Arizona. There are no students. There are no excavations. There is no future. A few years ago, I wrote an article entitled "Death of a Discipline?" I got a lot of flack from that. But in fact, our discipline is dying in secular circles because there is no interest in the Bible. Indeed, there's a great deal of hostility toward the Bible and the biblical world and the people of the Bible, ancient and modern. And so this is what you're up against in Adventist circles. You care about biblical archaeology, but you're among the few who do, which is why you have to continue doing what you're doing. And you have to place this third generation. You have to support them as scholars, as researchers, as excavators. You have to work in the field, in the classroom, and in the laboratory because you do care about the Bible. You're in a minority. It's an uphill struggle. I have long said that the future of American biblical archaeology in the Near East lies in the hands of conservative Christian circles like yours. I don't think fundamentalists will help us much because archaeology has not succeeded in proving their version of the Bible. But it has illuminated the biblical world in a dramatic and exciting way. But it's costly, it's complex, it's difficult work, and few are willing to take it up. So that's the challenge. The future of American biblical archaeology lies in the hands principally of Adventists and their projects. So all I can say is it's urgent that you keep up and expand your good work.